Welcome back to Position Specific, and in this class we'll be focusing on the defensive midfielder. I'll just give you a second to read the quote. But before we proceed, I just want to make something clear. At Position Specific, we are passionate about working with individuals and take huge pride in players we've worked with so far. Our aim is always to help you in your personal growth. That's both as a player and as a person. We want to assist you in understanding how to take control of every aspect of the game to help you progress through your journey. For us, it's important that we connect and together we plan, practice and progress. And this is something that we have seen work with players from grassroots right up to international level. Our goal is to give you the tools and knowledge to excel in 3 key areas: mastering the art of planning, understanding the role of the defensive midfielder, and taking the right steps to fast track your development. So this class is broken down into 4 sections. Part 1 dives into effective planning and what success looks like. This is very heavy in terms of words, so this is why we've broke it down into 4 sections. Now parts 2 and 3 is to show you what it looks like in and out of possession when playing as a defensive midfielder. So there's more videos and animations to show you what it looks like. And part 4 focuses on reflection. That's helping you identify key actions to accelerate your progress. So hopefully by the end of the class you'll have a clear understanding on what planning looks like, practicing and progressing to help you with your journey going forward. So let's take a deeper look into planning. This is one of our individual development models and it's designed to guide you in your growth as a player. As we progress through the class, we'll dive deeper into each aspect of the process. In short, we break down player development into 4 simple steps. Step 1 ensures you're in a good physical and mental state, the Psych-Social. This sets you up to absorb key information while enjoying your journey in the game. Step 2 is all about building a strong technical foundation, giving you the confidence and consistency to perform as a defensive midfielder. Step 3 focuses on expanding your knowledge, helping you become more flexible and adaptable in your role. And step 4, while influenced by your age and maturity, emphasises the importance of establishing solid foundations throughout your journey, setting you up to success as you fully mature as a player. Now here's the 4-step model that you might be more familiar with. Most clubs should have something similar, but my question is how many of them truly follow these steps to help you as a player? As you can see, every step is important for success. But if you're not feeling well and doing well, the other 3 steps become much harder. That's why taking care of yourself is key to improving as a player. And if you're watching this as a coach, you need to take this critical information in to help your players excel. So I've just highlighted a picture to the right hand side which is a brain divided into 3 parts, and I'm just going to put this in its simplest context. It's broke up into instinctive, emotional and logical. Knowing how these parts work can help you understand how you think and react. Now imagine that you're just walking over to your practice. The first thing your brain will do is start to look for regular patterns. So that's the instinctive part of the brain. So have you done that session before? What's the mood in the group? How was your coach talking to you? Now once you have started to look for regular patterns, the emotional part of the brain will come in and look for experiences. Now that's good or bad experiences. The logical part of the brain will then start to put the steps together to try help you figure things out. So what did you do in this session before if you've done that? And if not, how can you work through it? Now the most important thing to take from this is if you get a negative response from the patterns that you're looking at, So whether the environment's not right or you don't know the session, it's not been explained to you well enough, the logical part of the brain won't work as well. And then this affects your learning process, so it slows you down. That's why feeling well and doing well is really important for you to excel your learning. So just looking over to the left hand side now, you've got the 6 C's, the feeling well and doing well, but we put the feeling well first because it's the most important. So we talk about connect, challenge and collaborate. And I'm just going to ask you 3 questions and I want you to answer them yourself. So first of all, connect. Do you feel a sense of belonging and connection to your group, coaches and peers? Second, challenge. Do you have clear, simple, achievable goals to challenge your individual development? And 3, collaborate. Do you consistently reflect and receive feedback on your development goals? Now think about them 3 questions and answer them yes or no. Now it's really, really important that we get these right and starting with a connect. So if you don't have that self-belonging and connection to your group, coaches and peers, then you're not going to be in a safe environment to challenge yourself, which means you're not going to be open-minded to collaborate, which really affects your learning again. Now let's say you have all them, so you feel connected, you've got good challenges, and you collaborate well. That will then move into the doing well, so training well and playing well. And that's committed. So my question in terms of committed, are you committed to achieving your personal goals and making progress? So that comes back to the challenge. So have you got clear, simple challenges that you're committed to? Control. Are you clear in your control of what needs to be done to make progress? So do you know how to be successful with your challenges? And then last of all, when you tick the 5 C's before this, this is where confidence comes from. So are you confident in achieving your goals? Now, in an ideal world, we need to be trying to strive to tick all these 6 C's. And if we do, we are putting you in a really good position, which will help you accelerate your learning. Step 2, technical. It's always important to build a technical base that rarely breaks down, no matter the level you are playing at. So let's break down what makes a top player's technical foundation. We focus on 6 key skills, and 2 of them apply for both in and out of possession, while the other 4 are specific to one or the other. The most important skill for us is scanning. By the end of this class, you'll understand why. Now, I'm not going to cover everything on this slide, but feel free to pause the video and read in more detail. But here's a few takeaways across each skill that we talk about. So first of all, scanning, running across in and out of possession. Now, we always encourage our players to try scan at least 6 to 8 times every 10 seconds. That's including 3 times in the last 5 seconds before receiving the ball. But ultimately, it's not just about how many times you scan, it's having the knowledge of what you are looking for. And we'll explore this in more detail in parts 2 and 3. Now, moving and counter movements. These are 9 key movements that all footballers use. Now, learning them in the early parts of your development helps you move more efficiently across the pitch, but also helps you to dominate 1v1 duels when out of possession. And again, we'll go into this in a little bit more detail as we work through parts 2 and 3. Now, shifting over to the in possession, receiving skills. So this includes open body and closed body. Open body helps you move forward in different ways, so progress the play. And there's a variety of ways of doing this. Closed body helps you protect the ball to escape direct pressure. Now, linked to this is our brilliant basics. So that's the 1v1s and dribbling. Releasing skills, this covers passing, crossing and finishing. And this is looking for ways to play through, around and over the opposition. Now going over to the defending side, we're going to look at dictating skills. So this is about controlling your opponents by denying space, stopping them progressing, and deflecting them where you want them to go. So staying in control. And lastly, defending skills. This means looking for ways to win the ball cleanly. That's in 1v1 duels, opportunities to intercept and compete in aerial battles. So when you look at this slide now, this is the makeup of any top player. And if you go watch any game from now, especially defensive midfielder, and you watch how they work through this process, you'll start to understand that all this foundation helps them to play at the top level consistently. Step 3, tactical. Football is played with the head, the feet are just the tools. So again, another slide with plenty of information on there. I'm not going to go through it all. I'm just going to pick some little bits out of it to give you an understanding of what the slide's about. But if you do want more information, just pause it and have a read. In terms of the tactical, we focus on 3 key areas: positioning, decision making and set plays. These all run across both sides of the game. That's in possession and out possession. So if we look at the first key thing, we're going to look at positioning. So positioning in possession will be dictated by your team and playing style. We understand that. But it's important that you as a defensive midfielder ensure you're always trying to pick up positive positions on the field to help your team build the attack. When in the creating the attack, so the more of the attacking half of the pitch, you should try and get yourself in a position to counter-press below the ball. This will also help your team sustain attacks. Out of possession, it's important to try fill and pick up critical positions on the field. Remember, as a defensive midfielder, you've got a big responsibility in terms of protecting the goal. Now, we always say to our players, always aim to be in a position where you can support your teammates, but also be ready to defend. That's mark or cover critical areas on the pitch. Now the second key area, decision making. So as a defensive midfielder, you must make good decisions in 2 main areas when you possess the ball. Firstly, what do you do when you've got time on the ball? It's amazing how players don't really know what to do when they've got time on the ball, but that leans towards understanding the playing through, around and over scenarios. Secondly, what should you do when you're under major pressure and can't find solutions to the performance problems? Again, it's critical as a defensive midfielder that you don't give the ball away loosely. So understanding the performance problem, which is stopping you from progressing, is critical to help you moving forward. So you need to solve these problems as a player or work with your coach to address this, so in future you're prepared next time. Out of possession, you have to make crucial decisions in 2 areas again. Firstly, do you stick with your mark? So imagine defensive midfielder against 1 attacking midfielder. That would potentially be your mark. Or do you need to change the mark because there's a bigger threat elsewhere on the field? Secondly, if you're the free player, do you cover critical areas on the field or shift to support a teammate? Ultimately, you must always trust your instincts, and then it's up to you and the coaches to grow your knowledge on these areas of the game. And the last key area is set plays. Now, as a defensive midfielder, you will majority of the time be asked to take critical roles on attacking and defensive set plays. So it's important that you start to understand this as you get a little bit older, where you can affect both boxes. Now that might be taking a set play, or it might be being able to secure the second ball, or even attacking first contact. But again, this is another piece in terms of tactical that we would have to work with you on because ultimately, whatever level you play at, the manager needs to be in a position where they can trust you across these three key areas: positioning, decision making, and set plays. So step 4, physical. Nobody has enough talent to live on a talent alone. Even when you have talent, a life without work goes nowhere. So again, like the tactical, we've broken it up into three key areas that we like to focus on. First one is movement skills, second is strength, and third is conditioning. So looking at the movement skills, and we briefly touched on this a little bit earlier, but this is heavily leans towards the 9 individual movements in and out of possession. So in possession, it's important to try engrave these into your training from a young age, which will allow you to move smoothly across the pitch to support a teammate, but also manipulate your mark to create space for yourself or a teammate. Out of possession, using the counter movements will help you enable to dominate 1v1 duels or shift quickly across the pitch to fill critical spaces more effectively. Now looking at strength. Now this is dictated depending on your age, your body mass and maturity. But what we will say is it's crucial for you to master the technique of positioning your body and competing from a young age. So getting your arms out, shifting across even bigger players, getting used to the physical contact, but staying focused on the right technique. This will help you in the long run as you get older and stronger. And when you combine strength with technique, it puts you in an even better position. And lastly, we look at conditioning. So as a defensive midfielder, it is crucial for you to be in optimal condition to stay on the field to compete against your opponents. Off the pitch, as a defensive midfielder, it's important to rest and recharge off the field. But we always talk about trying to stay active, eat well, drink well, and make sure that you rest to ensure you're always ready to train and play. So across the next few slides, I'll present the distances and various movements involved in playing as a defensive midfielder. In the first slide, you can clearly see the average distances covered by a midfielder is around 11 to 12,000 metres per game. However, the key takeaway is to understand the different types of distances and speeds that are used during a game. As you can see, this includes distances covered while walking, jogging, cruising, and hitting the high intensity runs and sprints. Understanding these aspects is crucial as it directly relates to your conditioning work. On this slide, we're looking at different movements and ways of working. You can see the various actions such as walking, walking backwards, jogging, jogging backwards, shifting sideways, cruising and sprinting. If you refer back to our 9 individual movements, it will become clear why we've developed this model. This framework is designed to help you as a player improve your ability to move smoothly across different distances and in multiple directions while maintaining a high level of fitness. So just going out and doing a 10k run isn't specific enough to help you have the right conditioning work as a defensive midfielder. We want to provide you with an idea of how pitch dimensions can help you train and improve your conditioning for your position. On the left side, you can see a diagram of a standard pitch, 100 by 70 metres. On the right, we have 2 tables outlining different tests. Now, the reason why we're sharing this information with you is because we've worked with a number of players who can run a 5 and 10k in impressive times, but they struggle with the conditioning during training and games. Now, this often occurs because their training isn't closely related to the specific demands of their playing position. Now, while being able to do a 5k and 10k is beneficial for general endurance, it does lack the variety of speed and direction that football requires. So it's important to get the balance right. Now, looking at the top table, We have 4 tests focused on different speeds, along with some changes of direction. For example, in test 1, you'll aim to cover 4,000 metres. Starting from the goal line, you'll walk 50 metres, that's half a pitch. You'll jog 150 metres. Cruise for 100 metres, which is a 3/4 pace, and then sprint 100 metres. You repeat this 10 times, completing 4,000 metres, which is a quarter of your distance you'd cover in a game. Now, these tests would typically be introduced to the players in the off-season or when a player is returning from injury. Now, we would gradually get them to build up where they combine the tests. So it might be test 1 and 2, so you're covering 6,000 metres, which is half of your distance within a game. And build that up where you do test 1 right to 4. Now, in the bottom table, this has 5 tests, which are all tests that we've used at the highest end of the game, so looking at the Premier League. Tests 1 and 2 are focused around 1k and 2k distances, and you can clearly see that blue is your highest score and red is your lowest score. Now, tests 3, 4 and 5 are what we call box-to-box tests, which involve a distance of 130 metres. This includes 1 change of direction for each run as well. Now, in test 3, you start at the top of the box, and on the whistle you must sprint to the opposite box and back within 30 seconds. If you don't make that time, the test ends. If you do make it back in that time, you have 30 seconds to rest and then you repeat, trying to stay in that designated time. And if you look at tests 4 and 5, they are very similar, but the time constraints are more limited. Now, combining some of these tests from the bottom table to the top table is an excellent way to use different conditioning skills. Now, each one of these tests does present a various challenge, so be mindful in terms of where you're at in terms of your load. Now, I hope I've explained this clearly. If you do have any questions or you need further clarification, please feel free just to reach out to us. Now, in the last slide for part 1 of the class, this demonstrates an example of a professional timetable from a 1-game week. Now, depending on the manager and style, the specifics will vary. But in our experience, this remains consistent across many clubs that we've worked with or been in and studied. We are presenting this to provide you with a better understanding of how you should map out your week. Now, we understand that it's difficult to stay in line with something like this, but from our experience, this is what players struggle with the most when entering into the professional environment. Knowing when to rest and ensuring they are ready to hit peak performance is something that they struggle with. This looks different from a 2-game week, but I will share this on the site for you. And again, if there is any questions around this timetable and schedule, please reach out to us. And finally, I just want to say thank you for watching this first part of the class. I do understand it's a lot of information and rather wordy, but we needed to include this to gain a better understanding of what planning looks like at the top. In parts 2 and 3, we will look at more animations and video clips to show you what good practice looks like. Thank you again.